Why is algebra so hard for me? This is a question I get from many students. They say it's very complicated and there are so many concepts to learn they can't remember them all. So my goal today is to help you see how you can simplify algebra so it doesn't feel so daunting. So why does algebra seem so complicated? For many students, learning algebra can feel extremely overwhelming. They see a long list of topics in the course and wonder how they can learn it all. As they move forward in the class, each lesson seems to be a whole new concept. So let's make algebra simpler. In reality, a lot of algebra is doing arithmetic with variables. For example, if I ask someone, what can I add to 7 to get 12? In their head, they might think, well, see, 12 minus 7 is 5, so if I add 5 to 7, I get 12. In algebra, my question would look like this. X plus 7 equals 12. To solve this equation, I would subtract 7 from both sides. So let's look at it algebraically. We can see x plus 7, I'm going to minus 7 from the left, and then minus 7 from the right from the 12. This leads me to have x plus 0 on the left and 5 on the right. And of course, adding 0 to anything just leaves it as itself, so x plus 0 is x, and x equals 5. So you can see the connection between the arithmetic above and the algebra below. Connections are important. In algebra, there are big picture concepts that can help you lump many lessons into one main idea or one process to learn. For many, the challenge is seeing the connections from one lesson to another. Sometimes these might not be clearly pointed out in your lesson or textbook. Here's another example of simplifying concepts. Many students learn in high school the FOIL method of multiplying binomials, such as x plus 5 times x minus 6. So I'm going to go through and demonstrate how this works. So the FOIL method stood for first, outside, inside, last. So the first meant to take the first term in both parentheses and multiply them together. So x times x gave me x squared. The outside meant to take the outside terms of each parenthesis, so that would be x times minus 6 or minus 6x. Now, I for inside means take the inside of all four terms, which would be 5 times x, so that's a plus 5x. And L for last term, meaning take 5 times minus 6, and I get minus 30. So by simplifying this, I get x squared minus x minus 30. But they also learned this. Use the distributive property to multiply. So here's an example where they were told to multiply 3x times the binomial x minus 7. So the distributive property said, take the one term on the outside and multiply it by all terms on the inside of the parenthesis. So that gave me 3x times x, or 3x squared, minus 7 times 3x, or minus 21x. And there's my simplified using distributive property. But wait, your teacher now gives you this problem. Multiply these two trinomials, x plus y plus 4 times x minus 2y plus 1. And most people would say, we haven't learned how to do that. You've taught me binomials, you've taught me with a single one out there with distributive property, but I don't know how to do these two. This is where the big picture idea would come in. Let's review again this idea of distributive property. You're basically multiplying each term in the parentheses by the 3x on the outside. So you can see here I have the 3x times the x, and I have the 3x times the 7. So I put the minus here. I could have made that plus 3x times minus 7. It would be the same thing. And I'd get the 3x squared minus 21x. FOIL is just a mnemonic device to help high school students apply distributive property. for many students, they do not see it as distributive property. It's a new concept to them. Now they've learned two concepts instead of one that can be applied in many different situations. I still need to distribute, multiply, each term in the first binomial, in the parentheses, to both terms in the second binomial, parentheses. So let me show you this. So here's the same problem again using the distributive property. First, I will multiply the first term x through the x minus 6. Then I will multiply the 5 through the x minus 6. So here it is written out. You can see in the purple I have x is going to be multiplied by x minus 6, and then the 5 times the x minus 6. So here we have x times x times 6, 5 times x, and 5 times 6. So what you have here is the FOIL. So here is the first term. Here is the outside term. Here is the inside term. And here is the last term. So we get x squared minus 6x plus 5x minus 30 again. Still gives us x squared minus x minus 30. Let's look at the connection to distributive property. So again, I will first multiply the first x term through x minus 6 and 5 through x minus 6. Okay, so here was that same problem. And here is the distribution. Now note the similarities to the previous problem. 3x times x minus 7. Notice I took the 3x times the x and the 7. It's just instead of having two terms, I only had the one term to distribute. So you need to look for the larger connections. Don't be afraid to ask how this connects to any earlier skill that you've learned. Is it similar to a previous simpler skill you were taught? Do you recognize it? Make your own connections. What do you see that is similar to something else you already remember? Make the connections your own. You need to find ways to connect things in a way that you will remember and understand. This may be totally different to others, but they must make their own connections. Although, be willing to share your ideas to other students, as it might also work for them. So now we should be able to do this problem, the multiply of the two trinomials. So let's try to work through this one. I will start by taking this x, and I'm going to multiply it by all three terms in the other trinomial. Let me draw some arrows here. So I'm going to take x times x, which will get me x squared. Now I'm going to take the x times the minus 2y, minus 2xy. Now the x times the 1 gives me plus 1x. Now of course remember I don't need to have the 1 in front of the x. Just did that so you can see the two terms. Now we take the second one, the y. So I'm going to take the y, and I'm going to multiply it by all three terms in the other trinomial. So now I have y times x, or positive xy, y times minus 2y, or minus 2y squared. Y times 1 gives me plus y. Now I'm going to do the last term. I've switched colors to make it a little easier to see. So here's the 4. I'm going to multiply the 4 times the x, the minus 2y, and the 1. So 4 times x, that's a positive 4x. 4 times minus 2y, that's a minus 8y. And 4 times the 1, plus 4. So now I have done all of them. This trinomial represented the x times the second trinomial. This trinomial represented the second term y times the trinomial. And this grouping was the 4 times the other trinomial. So let's go ahead and finish multiplying this out. Well, we've multiplied it out, so we have to do like terms. So let's take a look here, and I don't see any other x squared terms, so I'm going to bring that one down. I do see that I have a minus 2xy, and I have a positive xy. So minus 2xy plus xy is minus xy. Now let's take at the 1x. I do see another, that's 4x, so 1 plus 4 is 5x. Okay, keep on going. I've already used the xy, so minus 2y squared. No other 2y squareds, or y squareds, so I'm going to bring that down. Let's see, I haven't added the y to anything. Do we have another one? Yes. 1y minus 8y is minus 7y. And I keep going. I've already used up the 4x. I'm left with 4, so I bring down the 4. So I have simply used the distributive property for all of these types of problems. A quick note on multiplying more than two expressions. If you have a situation where you're multiplying three expressions, such as x plus 2 times x minus 4 times x plus 3, you do not multiply both x minus 4 and x plus 3 by the x plus 2. Remember, with arithmetic, 2 times 3 times 4 would simply be 2 times 3 is 6, then 6 times 4 is 24. We do not go 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 4 is 8, and 6 times 8 is 48. Okay, from arithmetic, we know that. You simply pick two of them, for example, let's take the first two, and multiply them. Then multiply the last term by the expression you just got. In other words, if I took x plus 2 times x minus 4, I get x squared minus 2x minus 8. Now I'd use distributive property again to multiply x plus 3 through the x squared minus 2x minus 8. In conclusion, I hope this helped you gain a small understanding of how you can simplify what you learn in algebra to a way you can remember and understand. Chunking things under subheadings for yourself will be important. The three samples I gave would be under the one heading of distributive property. It is the only concept I need to do any multiplying in polynomials, even if it looked like this. Here's a trinomial and a binomial, or quadromial. You'd still be able to do this. It would take a little while. You'd have to be very organized, but you could still do it.